Good morning, everyone. First of all, I too give everyone my best New Year's greetings. I think our wishes for great health, great hope, and great happiness for each of us and for all of our community. Those of us who were together, thanks to Barb, on New Year's Day, boy, did we have fun, and we have what a list planned for next New Year's. It seems that the creativity of this organization is just coming up with ways to make it even better. It will not get better than the quiche, though. That was awesome. And thanks to Nancy #1 for that. And Cheryl, there you are. Happy birthday. It occurred to me that Elaine and I are so on the same wavelength. I was like, okay, I know it wouldn't be right to sing before the sermon. I don't know what right is as a UU anyhow. But I was planning to do that, and had you not done that, so it's a beautiful thing. And Bonnie, it's just so fun celebrating with two wonderful birthday women this month. And Linda, I really want to thank you for your song, The Notion of My Community. And I love the part about, it's not always like it's supposed to be. Boy, is that true. And I think the gift of song, being able to not only write words, but put it to music, is an amazing skill. I never met Ethel, and I can hear, I watch the reaction of the group to the news of her death, but surely as we add and become a more robust community, we could do that in memory of those founding members, including Ethel. I love the idea, Cheryl, of the calls to people we don't see for a couple weeks. I think as a member of the membership committee, I would speak for all of us, that's something that, boy, would that make a difference in people feeling cared for and cared about, which is, I think, the essence of community to me. So let me tell you a little bit about this young man whose sermon I am about to read. Reverend Daniel Kane discovered Unitarian Universalism at the First Unitarian Church of Oakland, California, in the early 1990s. In fact, he experienced his call to ministry during the several years that he served there as a pastoral associate and the coordinator of the Pastoral Associate Program. He received his Master's of Divinity degree from Starr King School for the Ministry in 2008. He has served as a chaplain intern and chaplain at Napa State Hospital. He has also served as the interim assistant minister at Arlington Street Church, Unitarian Universalist in Boston, and was ordained there in March of '09. So he's a young-looking man, and he brings us information. I Googled him, and then that led me to the First Unitarian Church of Oakland, probably warmer there today. And I just printed out, just so you could get a sense of it must be quite a place, some information about all of the things they have on their website as an inspiration to us, and some information about what I'm going to be speaking about from the website for the Church of the Larger Fellowship. So I just thought I would pass those around and people could gain an appreciation for the research of some pretty interesting things in our UU history, both this church in Oakland and also what we'll be speaking about today, which is the Church of the Larger Fellowship. And just to start, on the Church of the Larger Fellowship website, there is a place where people can post sort of daily messages or inspirations, and people can respond to them. And yesterday's was called, and I loved it, Remember the Crocus. For those who live in frigid climes, it can be hard to remember in the height of winter what spring even looks like. But spring always comes, eventually. And the thought for the day was, what helps you to remember spring in the frozen times of your life? So that gives you an idea of what's on the Daily Compass, which is their part of the Church of the Larger Fellowship website. So I thought that was kind of a cool introduction to something that certainly is new to me and probably to other people in our community. So now Daniel Kane. A light snow was falling, and the streets were crowded with people. It was Munich in Nazi Germany. Susie, a German Jew, had been riding a city bus home from work when SS stormtroopers suddenly stopped the coach and began examining the identification papers of the passengers. Most were annoyed, but a few were terrified. Jews were being told to leave the bus and get onto a truck around the corner. Susie watched from her seat in the rear as the soldiers systematically worked their way down the aisle. She began to tremble, tears streaming down her face. When the man next to her noticed that she was crying, he politely asked her why. "I don't have the papers you have. I am a Jew. They're going to take me." Well, the man exploded with disgust. He began to scream and curse at her. "You stupid idiot," he roared. "I can't stand to be near you." Well, the SS men asked what all the yelling was about. "Oh, damn her," the man shouted angrily. "My wife has forgotten her papers again. I am so fed up. She always does this." The soldiers laughed and moved on. Susie never saw him again. She never even knew his name. Dave loves this kind of familiar story because it tells how in the blink of a moment, a quick-thinking and compassionate person can literally save the life of the stranger on the bus. The title of this story is told by Rabbi Lawrence Kirshner, who was Dan's Judaism professor at the Graduate Theological Union in Berkeley, California. This story so powerfully embodies the principle of which he spoke in his poem, Messengers of the Most High. We all hold the potential to be messengers from the Most High to each other. Sometimes we can even save a life when we have the courage and presence of spirit to act on that potential, to live into our call to community. As Unitarian Universalists, we know this. We are called together not by a common creed, but by covenant, our familiar, mutual promises to and with each other. We covenant to affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of every person, justice, equity and compassion in human relations, acceptance of one another, and encouragement to spiritual growth, a free and responsible search for truth and meaning, the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process, the goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all, and respect for the interdependent web of existence of which we are a part. By definition, Unitarian Universalists cannot be who we are standing alone in isolation. We need each other in order to practice our faith, even as individuals. While we may engage our spirituality as individuals, the basis of that spirituality is formed in our coming together in the very first place. As Reverend Dana Greeley, a former senior minister at the Arlington Street Church in Boston and the first president of the Unitarian Universalist Association, noted, there is a stage in human development when people begin to be as much interested in others as in themselves, as much concerned with others' lots as their own. When this stage of development is reached, by some miraculous transition, the word "we," expressive of sympathy and the sense of togetherness in life, takes place of the word "I." The word "we" unites us. I, without my relationships, am nothing. The people I love, the people I serve, the people who work with me and with whom I work. So we are much more important than I am. The we that is our religious community is not just a higher stage of human development, though. It is the very means by which we live our faith and by which we are able to transform ourselves, those around us, and our very world. And this transformation is just what we covenant to promote and affirm in the principles that bind us one to another. As the Reverend Wendy Bell said in her recent sermon on anti-racism, the important work that we do as Unitarian Universalists begins with relationship. And relationship is the foundation of community, be it congregational, societal, or cultural. As Wendy explained, to be in relationship, we must not only understand what issues are important to another community, but we must also be willing to take the time and make the effort to stand up on behalf of that community. One community that became a passion of Dan's since his time in seminary is that of those who are institutionalized, be they mentally ill, incarcerated, or otherwise restrained from fully actualizing their inherent worth and dignity. One of the most effective ways that Unitarian Universalists tend to this community is through the prison ministries of the Church of the Larger Fellowship, a worldwide church without walls or borders whose central office is located in Boston. Dan's ministerial internship was split between the Arlington Street Church and the Church of the Larger Fellowship, as affectionately called the CLF. The Church of the Larger Fellowship is the largest congregation in our movement, serving over 2,800 Unitarian Universalist members, most of whom are geographically remote or otherwise unable to belong to a brick-and-mortar congregation. Although many of our members are people just like you, many of our members are international or elderly, homebound or immobile, impoverished or otherwise unable to comport to the standards of behavior that we seek to honor in our congregational life. More than 10% of the CLF membership is incarcerated. The Church of the Larger Fellowship has, in fact, a vibrant, growing, and life-sustaining prison ministry. We minister to Unitarian Universalists whose only connection to our movement and our faith community is through Unitarian Universalist pen pals or by the correspondence courses that we offer them. The CLF offers correspondence courses for our prison members, and one of those prison members in Dan's Spirit of Life Adult Religious Education course has described community, his prison community, in these compelling terms. I quote, "Different ages, cultures, races, and religion are thrown together in overcrowded conditions. In a community situation like this, though, we're stuck with each other. This is the difficulty and the richness of it. It's like putting a handful of jagged-edged stones into a gem tumbler and turning on the machine. They tumble and break and shatter the stones, but after sufficient tumbling, the stones emerge polished and sparkling, free of their rough edges. We have to realize, however, that stones become precious gems by rubbing up against one another in an intense environment. Ultimately, we see it's all a play of consciousness, which is transforming us from rough, jagged-edged stones to polished, sparkling gems. All differences, whether physical, mental, or emotional, are superficial. They are like waves on the surface of the ocean. Deep within, we all share the same inner depths. Beneath the ever-changing waves, we are all the same. We remain the same, unchanging one. I cannot imagine a more articulate expression of community than the words and experience of this man. He is one of us, and we are of him. Across the miles and through the thick walls, electrified barbed wire, and armed guard towers, we are community. We are bound together by our shared UU covenant and by relationship that calls us to take the time and to stand up on his behalf because it is our behalf as well. This is what the CLF exists to do, to create and nourish community across every sort of barrier, obstacle, and frontier imaginable. While many of the folks who benefit from the Church of the Larger Fellowship are already Unitarian Universalists, a significant number of those whom we reach are new to or even unfamiliar with Unitarian Universalism. Yet even without the immediate camaraderie and friendships that often come from joining a brick-and-mortar congregation, The folks who come to us through CLF also experience that sudden and satisfying spiritual sense of having come home again, maybe even for the very first time. Just as Unitarian Universalism can and has provided us with the means to save ourselves and each other, so the work of the Church of the larger fellowship, even in the absence of face-to-face encounters, provides lifelines to those we encounter around our world and in our own backyards. The importance of those lifelines that can come through real community was recently underscored by an article in the New York Times entitled "Gay Enclaves Face Prospect of Being Passé." There the reporter discussed how recent cultural trends have displaced, and I quote, historically gay villages in America's largest cities, even as the overall population of the United States is becoming even more urbanized. The effect of these demographic changes have left many gay and lesbian folks closer to the place of their birth and less in large regional cities, but often at the cost of the connections, stability, and safety that come from being a part of a greater community of affinity. The isolation and loneliness that has arisen, a waning sense of belonging, has even led some therapists to encourage their patients to go back to gay and lesbian bars so they can experience the interactions and friendship that were once a normal component of gay enclaves in major U.S. cities. Several researchers interviewed for the article discussed how the growth and evolution of any community necessarily lessens the importance of place. That physical location matters when a community is new or young or just beginning to grow. Looking at it historically, we Unitarian Universalists are a new and young faith community. Yet because of our numbers, other than in New England, physical location has served to create a sense of isolation, of being alone, of not having any sense of belonging. The CLF provides that sense of belonging to spiritual seekers in dogmatic places, the socially outcast or unfit, those without transportation, those who are geographically isolated, young adults leaving their home churches for the very first time, or those who are far from home for any number of reasons. You too can be a part of that sense of belonging, to provide a keystone in the foundation of that community, to be a messenger from the Most High or that stranger on the bus. Join the Church of the larger fellowship, provide financial support, or become a pen pal to a CLF member who is incarcerated. CLF membership is not simply an altruistic pursuit. There are many, many meaningful benefits available to CLF members. From our highest quality monthly publication, Quest, which publishes sermons and reflections from the most accomplished professionals in our movement, to our ever-growing and up-to-date website, to the young adult membership organization they sponsor called the Church of the Younger Fellowship, which strives to keep and deeply grow our young adult members as they leave for college, the military, and the newest chapters of their lives. My beloved Unitarian Universalist seekers and sharers, in Rabbi Kushner's terms, you have the pieces to someone else's puzzle. You, the piece to someone else's puzzle. CLF provides that flat, dry surface on which we Unitarian Universalists can assemble our myriad puzzle pieces into a picture that contains each and every piece of the puzzle, to form a sustaining community, a complete picture where each piece matters and every piece is necessary to complete the picture. We here this morning, and Unitarian Universalists meeting in churches, social halls, schools, and cafeterias, and living rooms across the planet this morning, are all pieces of that puzzle. Without each piece, the picture is unrecognizable. Without every piece, the picture is incomplete. Without each other, we are incomplete. Everyone carries with them at least one, and probably many, pieces to someone else's puzzle. Sometimes they know it, sometimes we don't. Well, we do know it. We are called to act upon that knowledge, to answer yes to the call to community. May it be so, and amen.